Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are back once again with the final chapter, Chapter 5, The Revelation, The Undertaker The Last Ride, WWE's documentary series covering The Undertaker's last couple of years of his career. I am back once again with the connoisseur of all reporting, Mr. Romeo Anthony Cologne. How you doing, good brother?
We've made it, the final chapter. Let's end this. Let's close the casket.
Let's close the casket. Chapter 5, The Revelation, has to do all about the build-up for WrestleMania 36 between The Undertaker versus AJ Styles in the great Boneyard match that we saw on night 1 of WrestleMania 36. So before we get into anything, please drop a like on this video. We've been getting a lot of great support and feedback for our Undertaker The Last Ride series. So we want this to be the most liked of all of our reviews for all the previous 5 chapters of this series. And if you haven't already, you can have the playlist. There's an iCard right here at the top where you could take a look at our playlist for all of our other reviews for the rest of the chapters of The Undertaker The Last Ride. And of course, the iCard down at the bottom to subscribe and the bell to stay notified for all the great content right here on True Hill Heat. So, Romeo, you are our quarterback as usual. Take it away.
This will probably be our shortest review out of all the chapters because I'm going to skip the parts where it's just back and forth trash. Remember that I had to take shots for in the last episode. I'm not doing that again. I'm not. I'm skipping all those parts. We already know this guy is conflicted and he's just hamming it up for the camera. Will I? Won't I? I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. And that's what it seemed like for the first 10 minutes of this episode. A recap of that. Um, Very unnecessary close-ups of the boogers in Undertaker's eye. Producer, somebody look at the shot and then say, this is a bad shot. Taker, we got to clean your eyes. Somebody. Who's producing this shit?
Who booked this shit, Bruce?
I will say Taker told a nice story about his dad. He's an MSG. This episode aired on Father's Day. Um, the producer asked if there's anything you get for Undertaker, which I literally just said. You could have wiped his eyes, maybe. And then Taker says, well, he starts to say it, but the producer finishes it. Oh, you want the makeup remover, don't you? And Taker's like, better you say it than I do. And Taker reminds us that he used to tell his dad that it was a war mask, not makeup. And he would have his dad follow him around and shadow him for a day. And basically, his dad had to come to the realization that this was going to be a guy who's going to be a professional wrestler for the rest of his career.
Yes. I like the little story about like how his dad like had to accept it, and his dad watching him put the makeup on and just face palming. So I like that little story, and it was a lot of symbolism with it being like Father's Day and this coming out on Father's Day. So that was a nice touching moment in this final chapter.
Undertaker goes on Steve Austin's Broken Skull Sessions, and AJ Styles mentions that it sounded like Taker was down to have a couple more matches. So AJ asks Taker to be one of those matches, and Taker tells him he would have loved to have done it 10 to 15 years ago when he could still go. Edge says there's not a better guy on the roster than AJ Styles for Undertaker to work with. AJ mentions how Taker always has his best matches against guys that are shorter than him and can move around for him, bump for him. Austin says AJ can be trusted and is the best wrestler on 2 feet right now. Huge praise from Stone Cold.
Huge, tremendous praise for Stone Cold, but you could tell even when they was working together on the MSG shows last year in September of 2019 that Stone Cold has a lot of respect for, and with the fact that he worked with him that night in MSG, that you can see that he respects AJ Styles a lot. But saying those words, that's high praise for one of the greatest of all time to say that about you.
Taker tells AJ he will think about it. AJ says, no matter what, I'm sure it'll be the right choice. Then Taker is at the Performance Center giving knowledge. We see a clip, Randy Orton saying that he picked his brain on European tours. their first match together, Vince asked Taker, "What is he doing, selling so much for this young Randy Orton?" And Taker tells Vince he wanted to make the kid look good. Isn't that what we do? And then also we see Jeff Hardy. He's talking about how Undertaker mentored him and told him what he could improve on. Their memorable ladder match on Raw. And Taker's working with NXT kids in the ring, figuring out where he's at physically, mentally.
I like this portion of it, really seeing how like the Undertaker had such an impact on Jeff Hardy's career as well as Randy Orton's career. Like just the fact that the Undertaker wanted to sell that much, and they showed clips of that match, and he did. He did. This was a time when he was Big Evil, and he didn't sell for a lot of people. It's the same Big Evil that is the reason why DDP's WWE career is not looked back on fondly. So, so the fact that he sold so much for a rookie in Randy Orton said a lot, and it said that he was always looking towards the future of the business, even at that time in 2002, 2003.
Taker agrees to the AJ match almost reluctantly. Like people are pulling his arm. Like, come on, you know he really wanted to do that.
It didn't take much. It would have just been like a call from Vince, like, hey, Styles just keeps asking me, he keeps badgering me, and he's like, oh man, okay, like who you trying to fool, Taker? Who you trying to fool? You're really that tag match at Extreme Rules was really gonna be it for you. You turned around 5 minutes after telling Vince you were done, and you was like, yeah, maybe I got a few more in me. Like, you're ridiculous.
He tells Vince to tell AJ that he'll do it, but it'll be with someone else. some kid in Tennessee he wants to get over. So Vince does that, and AJ calls Taker back and says, "Bull crap! Don't work with me." High praise from Taker, saying there's nobody else on the roster he would come back to get in the ring with than AJ Styles.
Yeah, just like so much praise for so many like legends of the business for AJ Styles, and this is someone that, if you're just a WWE fan, you don't realize, like, I don't think you quite realize how great or how big the impact of AJ Styles is, that the fact that he made TNA a legitimate number 2 to WWE at a time right after WCW and ECW went out of business, and then turn that around and have such a great 2-year run in New Japan, and then now what he's able to do in the WWE, his legacy is just so great. So to hear these legends talk about him in such that acclaim, it's just confirmation for all his longtime fans like myself.
Back in Saudi Arabia for another Super Showdown. This is the one with the gauntlet match for that trophy, whatever you call it. Taker wins it, still in his entrance gear. Best part of all this is after the match with Taker and Vince. Vince says Taker is here for a good time, not a long time. Which reminds us of our good friend, Drunk Guy JJ.
Drunk Guy JJ is rolling over in his bed. And he was I know he was pissed. He started calling the True Hills lawyer, Stat King, and he's like I need a cease and desist against the Undertaker and Vince McMahon. He's like no, he will not have this. So Drunk Guy, I hear the law team for True Hill Heat is on it.
There's an awesome shot of Taker shooting something into the trash and saying Kobe.
That might be the gift of 2020. Gift of 2020.
Well,
and then
2020 owes us a lot more gifts than that.
Yes, it owes us a lot more than that, but at least we can get that little gift right there. And that was great. It made me like the Undertaker a little bit more.
Look at that.
It made me forgive him for the last couple of years. This whole episode was about trying to make me heal, I think. It was about
tugging at your heartstrings.
Yes, he was tugging at my heartstrings this whole episode. Like I understand how you feel, and I was feeling the same things you were. at the time. Like, people didn't understand. You weren't a hater of the Undertaker. No, you loved the Undertaker, and you just didn't want to see this anymore. You just didn't want. You knew he did enough for us, and you wanted to let him go, but he didn't want to let it go. So it was like this was a healing type of moment.
AJ cuts that awesome promo on Undertaker, talking about the fake retirement in Orlando, blaming Michelle McCool for Mark refusing to let go. And this let Undertaker incorporate elements of the American Badass and the human Mark Calloway into his character for this feud. Michelle says she loved the promo. She even called AJ's wife, saying how fired up the promo got her. And we see a recap of the debut of the American Badass, where Taker had to evolve, he had to change with the times, the Attitude Era, and the American Badass, it worked in that time.
But can we just say that AJ Styles March 9th, 2020 promo is by far his best WWE promo ever. Ever. He said so much truth. It was like I wrote his promo for him. That's what so many people told me. So many people on the True Hills page, so many people that watch True Hill, he said, I wrote that promo because that promo was so much of the things I've said over the last 3 years. So I love AJ Styles for that promo. I just don't love AJ Styles when the camera's off and he has a mic near him, But that's besides the point. The performer AJ Styles, he was great on March 9th. That's his best WWE promo ever.
And touch on the American Badass, if you will. I thought that was one of the best returns for a character in WWE.
I like the return. I don't feel the American Badass really got going until he turned heel and shaved his head. That whole Big Evil. Like that whole year and a half, he was like, he was slower to me. A lot of his flaws was like coming out, and he didn't look like he was in his best shape to me. And that's the portion of the Undertaker that I feel is the worst version of the Undertaker. Even though I loved the theme song, I loved Rollin', I loved American Badass, but you're gonna pay is his best theme song ever. I'm sorry for all the gong doo 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 doo. That's the best entrance ever, but his best theme song is You're Gonna Pay.
I like the Ministry of Darkness with the guitar riff.
The Ministry of Darkness is very good. I love the Ministry of Darkness. I say that's a close number 2, but his best one is You're Gonna Pay. Just listen to the lyrics. You're gonna pay. There's no forgiveness this time. Just a classic ruthless aggression type of theme.
So, WrestleMania 36, unfortunately, there's this little thing called COVID-19, aka coronavirus, and this wipes out WrestleMania 36 from being at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, which now allows the match to take a different approach. It doesn't have to be in the ring. If we could do matches that are off-site, that's what we're going to try to do, says Triple H. And that's what they do. It's called a boneyard match. And Triple H is involved in the production of this match. And when he hears that it's a boneyard match, he's like, everybody else, what's a boneyard match? And he's told, I don't know, you figure it out.
I love when Triple H says those stories because that's totally realistic. Totally realistic for everything that we know about WWE. We know one thing. They just book shit on the fly. And with everything that happened during this pandemic, it is totally 100% reasonable that they wrote the promo saying boneyard match and then just said, you know what, Triple H, you figure it out. You put this shit together.
He and Michael Hayes, Triple H and Michael Hayes, go scout the location. It's on 1 acre of land on the end of a street. It's got a barn. Hayes says this ain't gonna work. Taker says we're gonna turn chicken shit into chicken salad.
They did.
Triple H tells Vince we're gonna do this cinematic style, multiple camera angles. Vince says do it. And Taker says it turned out to be the best thing we could have done, given the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, their match would not be talked about now how it's talked about if it was underneath the same standards that all the other matches in the ring were at WrestleMania 36. I mean, even the really good and great matches from WrestleMania 36, like a Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, they're not talked about in the same allure as the Boneyard match, or not even the Firefly Funhouse, which wasn't even a wrestling match. It was a 12 to 13 minute sketch or vignette and presented as called the wrestling match, but there wasn't even any. I don't think there was probably
No,
more than 3 bumps in that whole match.
still my
Match.
personal favorite from the weekend, though.
I loved it. I loved it. It was one of the greatest vignettes that they ever put together, but it's not a match. That's why when I was like when I had to do star ratings for WrestleMania, I was like, that's the most difficult one to star rate because as an angle, it's a 5-star angle. As a match, it's a dud.
Driving back from the Boneyard set, Taker's phone rings. It's his niece. His brother Tim had passed away from a heart attack. Very sad. Taker very emotional, knowing he had to break the news to his mother. And he goes on with the Boneyard match, despite it being eerie and awkward, being around, death set, as one would put it.
What type of warped therapy is the Undertaker putting himself through? You find out your brother passed away, and the show must go on, and you got to do a boneyard match with caskets, with tombstones, with shovels. It's just like,
Tough crowd.
man, this man's dedication. Like, that's what I said. Like, this is like, I just have to praise this man because his dedication to this character, this dedication to this business, and even this matchup in this match just by itself, it just says a lot.
They show highlights of the Boneyard match. I still laugh every time at AJ Styles saying, sorry, sorry.
Absolutely. I was like, that's the one part of the dialogue they had to get from AJ. He's like, sorry. I loved it. I loved it. That's like one of my favorite parts of the whole match is when AJ's on his shoulder. I'm sorry.
Taker says that him riding off at the end of the match has added meaning to it. Taker loved all the reviews. The match was critically acclaimed. He says it was storytelling at its best, not what he initially envisioned, but he's proud of it. And he asks, how do you top that?
You can't. That's what happened. That's what I said. What did I? I think I said this in the first review that we did for this series. There was no topping that Boneyard match. That was the best way to kind of wrap up the whole Undertaker character. You had all the characters in one. You had the American Badass. You had Big Evil. You had the Ministry. You had the original Dead Man, and you had Mark Calloway. So, and then he rode off in the sunset with the symbol in the background. That's the perfect storybook ending to one of the greatest characters
Second
of all
perfect.
time.
Second perfect. He's had two of these now.
That's even better than him putting his hat in his jacket in the middle of the ring. Him having a cinematic type of movie finale for that character, for the greatest character in WWE history. Vince McMahon got to live out his dream and see a movie at WrestleMania. That's perfect.
And two other things. One being he headlined one night of WrestleMania, and the other being he won. Who the fuck wins in their last match?
Exactly. He got to keep his 24-2 record. Awesome.
2 months later from that, which is now, we see Taker and Michelle. Taker's fishing. Michelle describes more awful news of how her nephew passed away from a car accident that Sunday before the Boneyard match. He had just graduated high school. Awful, awful news. Undertaker talks about Kobe Bryant's death hitting him hard too, making him realize to cherish family. That hit everyone hard.
Yeah, that definitely was like the first thing like out of this whole year that's been a whirlwind and tragedy and so much depression and sadness and just craziness, and even us in the wrestling world, like more recently with the whole speaking out movement, and the bravery that these people are showing by speaking out, but just the disheartening like information, and just very much sad time to be a wrestling fan. And then but like to kind of look at the whole year in a nutshell, 2020, it all started with Kobe Bryant passing away. And me, as a longtime Kobe Bryant fan, I was crushed. So I can imagine, Undertaker doing the whole Kobe and stuff. You could tell he was a fan himself. I know that had to affect him. And he was a basketball fan from what I know as well.
Funny moment where Taker's youngest daughter accidentally says that she was cheering for AJ Styles during the Boneyard match. Oops, daddy. I meant daddy.
His daughter's a heel. I love it. Love it.
Taker says he's happy with his career and legacy. He has this other life that he has to enjoy, his family. But wait. If Vince McMahon is ever in a pinch, in case of emergency, break glass and pull out the Undertaker, he would consider it. Never say never. And all I have to say about this is it better be a damn emergency. The entire roster has to be stranded somewhere, or I don't know, injuries all over the place. It better not be Saudi Arabia, sure, I'll come. It better not be none of that crap.
I'm gonna give the Undertaker from Chapter 4 base.
He will be judged harshly if it's not an emergency. Harshly.
Okay. It's gonna be such an emergency. Saudi Arabia. Sweet Saudi Money 10. The anniversary, the 10th edition, the 10th event from Saudi Arabia. You gotta have the Undertaker. The Prince wants the Undertaker. The Prince says the show will not happen if we don't have the Undertaker. Oh, that's an emergency. I have to go, Michelle. I have to go. I have to go. WrestleMania 40, me versus Sting. Sting's gonna come out of retirement for me to come out of retirement. Absolutely.
Boneyard match 2?
Absolutely. Boneyard 2. I'm ready for it. I could do it again. It's cinematic. It was great the first time. I could do it again, Michelle. Exactly. It's gonna keep going.
Selfishly, I kind of want to see that, but I'll play WWE 2K whatever fucking year it's coming back.
2022.
Taker says no desire to get back in the ring, even though he has a pit in the stomach when he says that. And he says, this time the cowboy rides away. I think that's a George Strait song. Awesome little video editing montage. WWE's great at these. To George Strait's song, Troubadour, highlights his two families, his real family and his family on the road. He specifically shouts out and mentions Bryan Adams, Yokozuna, Godfather, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Bret Hart, Mick Foley, Mayor Kane, Edge. He says he can't name them all. And obviously, Vince McMahon, who always had his back. He thanks them all. Taker says he wouldn't change a thing. It was all a part of the story that shaped him to who he is today. He's going to miss a lot of these guys. He already does. And a lot of great words from his peers. John Cena says the bar for respect is The Undertaker right here and everyone else down here.
Absolutely.
Triple H says his legacy is that there will never be another. Vince McMahon says that man can look in the mirror and say, I did good. Taker says, I did things my way, and I'm going to leave my way. SP3, we have marched through the gates of hell with the dead man for 5 chapters, 5 episodes. We chased the dragon. I even chased some shots. And the end game here, which we were wondering, what was it all leading to? That the Undertaker is retiring. He gave himself an out just in case. So now what? Hall of Fame eventually soon. Of course, we still have to induct everyone else that didn't get a chance to go in the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah, we have to induct Batista and the NWO.
And do you think Undertaker's full of shit and we will see him again one time? Talk about this ending and answer those questions if you can.
So, talking about the ending, I had so much joy hearing him say those words. Hearing him say the words, because I know there's going to be a subsection of wrestling fans that's like, oh no, he never said it before. He never said it. This is the first time he's saying it. But we've had to sit through the question of will he, won't he, for 8 years now. It's been 8 years. 8 years. Will he, won't he? And to finally hear him. And these 5 episodes. It's been like a whole month and a half of these episodes. We've enjoyed doing it for you, though. Enjoy reviewing these for you, but it's been hard dealing with someone who's so emotionally conflicted between letting something go and just living his life that seems like a beautiful life outside of wrestling. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the man, Mark Calloway. That I am glad that Mark Calloway has finally accepted that he can let wrestling go. That he can be Mark Calloway, that he can be the man, that he can be the husband to Michelle, that he can be the father to his daughter and to his other kids. Like, I am glad, I am happy, and he can be there for those moments, like to be there for his mother when he finds out that his brother passed away. Like, those little things in life are very important, and you want to be present for them. Like he said, he learned a lot from Kobe Bryant. So hearing him say all those things, it got to me. I had a tear in my eye. But I also, at the end of it, ending everything, I was like, this was great. This was a great documentary. This was a great series. This was a great interpretation into the mind of a professional wrestler at the end of their career. And I think that this is a depiction that we don't really see a lot presented by the WWE. So it made it even great. It made it even grander because they have the production and everything else to go along with like the story they were telling at the time. So I was very satisfied with the documentary and the piece, but if you ask me right now, or if you ask me right after the documentary ended, am I 100% positive that I will never see another Undertaker match again? It is a big fat no. You fool me once, shame on me. You fool me twice, shame on you. You won't fool me again. You won't fool me again. This has now been 3, 4, 5 times. I don't even know how the saying goes, but this has been too many times for me to even remember the shame on you, how that goes. I don't care. Like, he's fooled me too many times. Like, I was there live in Orlando. People cried right next to me. I was not crying because I was happy. I was like, yes, it is time. It's time. It's time. It's been time for a while. It was probably time after the streak ended. It was probably time after the end of the streak. He says it was probably time after the Shawn Michaels retirement match. So, too many times. It's been time. So, it's time to let it go. I was ready for it in Orlando. I'm even more ready for it after seeing these 5 chapters. So I'm very happy that he feels satisfied, but I don't really believe it.
Put a percentage on it, if you will. A percentage that Undertaker returns. I'm going to say 20% chance he comes back for one more match.
40%.
Double.
40% chance he comes back for another matchup, but it won't be at anything other than WrestleMania or a Sweet Saudi Money.
let's wrap up this Last Ride series. Let me ask you, what was your favorite chapter, and what would you rate the entire series on a scale of 1 to 10?
My favorite chapter would have to be chapter 5. Just wrapping up everything, even though a lot of it was going over previous chapters and stuff we already know. It was the perfect ending to this whole piece, and it was exactly the end of the road that we needed to get to. So chapter 5 had to be my favorite. If I had to give an honorable mention for the best episode, I would go with chapter 2. Chapter 2 was the episode where they talk about his relationship with Vince, I believe, correct?
I think so.
Overall, the documentary, the series, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. This is the best piece that WWE has ever done. It's the Undertaker The Last Ride series, Edge's 24, Breaking Ground, and then everything else kind of falls from there. But those are the best things. We've seen two of the best pieces from WWE and the WWE Network this year with The Undertaker The Last Ride and Edge's 24.
I'm going to agree with you on chapter 5 being my favorite. I think if you're strapped for time and you can't watch all 5 of these, just watch the last one. It's a good summarization of the first 4 chapters, and it gets you that nice ending. I thought the video at the ending with the flashbacks of the past mixed with the footage of Undertaker now, I thought that was brilliantly done. I want to say you gave it a 10 out of 10 the entire series. I'm going to go a little lower than that, 9 out of 10. And the main reason for that is the tug of war that I had in chapter 4, where I just got worked like a fiddle. Absolutely annoyed and frustrated by this battle within. Now, that truly was the best name for that episode. The battle within. It was a battle within for me watching that and just livid with frustration. But
Because you decided to drink every time this man changed his mind.
that was to make it fun for me because it wasn't fun to hear this shit, this back and forth that we already heard for 3 episodes before that. It reached the boiling point in chapter 4. But yeah, great series. Watch it.
Absolutely. It's a must watch. All right, and should we give any like MVP for the entire series besides the obvious The Undertaker?
I got
The
one.
who?
Michelle McCool.
That's exactly who I was thinking. That's exactly who I was thinking. I was like,
I don't know Michelle McCool. This was like my first time getting to know her, and she's a fantastic woman. The stuff she had to deal with, my goodness.
I was like, if anyone deserves praise out of seeing everything that they've gone through in the past 3 years, anyone deserves our praise. It is Michelle McCool. It is something I said long ago on one of the first episodes of True Hero Heat. I said, if I was The Undertaker, I wouldn't want to be The Undertaker anymore. I would want to be under Michelle McCool. And
Great line, classic line.
that's kind of not appropriate line, but I'm talking about as a husband with
Yes.
his wife. I want to be with my wife and not at work. So even now, in a secure relationship with kids, I'd rather be at home with my wife and my kids than working. Like, this is fun, but my joy in life is spending time with them, so I'd rather do that. So I didn't understand why The Undertaker wanted to keep coming back to work, but he made us understand throughout this whole series. But the MVP of it all is Michelle McCool.
I will say another thing that I would have liked to have seen, but I completely understand that I didn't. Would have been. Doesn't he have 2 other daughters and also a son?
Yeah, you have a son that looks exactly like him.
And they're older. I wish we could have heard from them a little bit. Like we didn't hear at all. We just heard from the youngest one. But I understand if they're not comfortable in front of a camera or anything like that. That's fine. It was the same thing in the Michael Jordan The Last Dance. You barely heard from the kids.
Exactly. You heard from the kids like the last episode or so. So, and we didn't really hear from his like younger daughter until we saw her a lot in the series, but we didn't hear from her until like the last episode. So, kind of similar. Maybe they're not comfortable with their kids being on camera, or their kids are not comfortable talking about them on camera, which I understand. So, like you said, the older kids hearing about him being away and how that his career and his dedication to his character kind of affected their childhood would have been a different angle to go about it, but that would have took away from some kind of like the happy joy of it ending of it, of him being at peace with everything without like rehashing a bad haunted past. So I kind of understand why they didn't want to include that. So yeah.
And I got another question for you. It just popped up in my head. If we could do another 5-part docu-series on another superstar in WWE, who would you like to see it on?
That's a very interesting question.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head too.
Yeah, I have to think about it. I mean, the one that comes off the top of my head would be Edge, but we just had his 24, so. But
I'm gonna say, and I'll probably have to be dead for this to happen. Vince McMahon.
oh, absolutely, Vince McMahon, Triple H, Bruce Pritchard. Why not? Why not?
I think
Why
Vince
not?
McMahon, you might need 10 parts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot to cover.
That's gonna be the series when he finally decides, you know what, this is gonna be my final year. My final year running it day to day. He's gonna be like 84 years old.
I'm not giving it to Triple H. I'm giving it to Bruce Pritchard.
He's gonna go to Brucey. So he's gonna be around with like a cane and a walker and like, God damn it. 10-part series. Why not? So yeah, we're gonna get the Vince McMahon 10-part series. He's finally hanging up. That would be fun.
Now I want to see it. Get to work, WWE.
And you viewers get to work. Put your comments down below and start a petition in our comments for the Vince McMahon 10-part series documentary on the WWE Network. And of course, put your comments down below and give us your thoughts on The Undertaker The Last Ride, the entire series, as well as Chapter 5, The Revelation. Any final remarks or words for the people as we wrap up this series of reviews for The Undertaker The Last Ride, Romeo?
It was quite the journey. I made it.
We all made it through. We appreciate you going on The Last Ride with us. Push the like button. Let us know that you enjoyed this video and help this YouTube channel get to other wrestling fans like yourself, especially these Undertaker The Last Ride reviews. I'm known as a polarizing viewpoint when it comes to The Undertaker, so always fun when it comes to this, and Romeo knows how to steer the ship along, so take a look at the rest of our The Undertaker The Last Ride reviews. Push the iCard down at the bottom to subscribe and the bell to stay notified for all the great content right here on True Hill Heat. So, for the connoisseur of all reporting, Mr. Romeo Anthony Colon, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been our final The Undertaker The Last Ride review, Chapter 5, The Revelation. Signing off until next time.